Good evening, radio fans, and welcome to another exciting adventure of Walker and O'Dare, the story of Jimmy Walker, a thief trying to reform. But dark shadows have emerged from the past, and our hero is searching desperately for his missing gal Friday, Trix O'Dare, a former vaudevillian with a mysterious secret of her own. Tonight's episode, Who is Carrie Brooks? But first, a word from our sponsor. Gentlemen, are you tired of having to sneak a cigarette at home or your workplace? Do you wish your wife or boss would stop pestering you about the thick smoke and odor of lesser brand tobacco products lingering long after your break is over? Your friends at Capone have just the product for you. The brand you trust for everything from tar-based shoe polish to reasonably effective hair tonics now brings you coffee-scented cigarettes. Wonder how he packed in that rich aroma? So do our competitors. And here at Capone, we know how to keep our mouths shut while enjoying our new double-roasted coffee smell and that distinct Capone flavor. Our story begins in the dimly lit hospital room where the unconscious body of a shooting victim lies in a sterile white bed. It took 6 grueling hours of surgery to remove the bullet from Major Conway, His Majesty's agent abroad. Even now, the prognosis is far from certain. Standing over the wounded man are 2 of the hospital staff, who are completely unaware that from the gloomy shadows outside the window, they too are being watched.
Blood pressure 160/80. The blood transfusion seems to have stabilized him. Check the morphine drip, nurse. He may need more as the night wears on. Has anyone been notified?
His identification listed him as a major in the military police. A call was made to the consulate. They will be on the alert for the next of kin if worse comes to worse.
Yeah, all right then. Better let him sleep.
So, the prognosis isn't great, huh? Well, it's going to get a lot worse if I don't start getting some answers here. Oh, sorry to interrupt your beauty sleep, Major, but you're where the trail ends cold.
What? Good God, is that you, Walker?
In the flesh. Rise and shine, Conway. We gotta talk.
Still in the flesh, are we? Well, that's good. Seeing you first thing when I woke up, I assumed I'd died and gone to hell.
You may be closer to that than you think.
That sounded rather like a threat directed at one of His Majesty's servants, Walker. Best not make comments like that unless you're prepared to back them up. Now, to what do I owe this dubious pleasure?
How much do you remember about last night?
I remember there was a much more pleasant face than yours over me when I closed my eyes. I take it that's why you're here.
Hey, what happened? Where'd she go after she left you?
I lost consciousness. How would I know? She ran out after the shot was fired. Ah! What the devil was that for?
That is going to happen every time that you hold out on me. Trix didn't run out. She's not the type. Plus, the bartender at the club said she was kneeling over you with her hands on the wound when you came out on the terrace. So let's try that again, shall we? What was going on right before you were shot?
We were standing on the terrace talking. The bullet came from an elevation across the street. Long-range rifle, if I'm not mistaken. I fell. Miss O'Dare called for help. I told her to run, and she did.
Why'd you tell her to run?
There was a shooter about. Why not take cover? Ah! Blast you, Walker!
It was light on the terrace. Whoever shot you would have known that it was a hit, quite possibly a kill. In any event, he was done shooting, and she could have helped the cops find the guy who plugged you. So, why was it so important that she leave? Tough guy, huh? Well, let's see what this little switch does.
That was supposed to frighten me.
Oh, I didn't mean to frighten you, but I'm pretty sure I just turned off your morphine drip.
Oh, you bastard.
And this must be the little button that calls the nurse. Well, I'll just move that over here. Now, why were you in such a hurry to get rid of the only witness to the crime?
Because she was the target.
What?
The shooter wasn't there for me. He was trying to take her out. Probably got spooked when the alarm was sounded and opted not to take another shot.
All right, good. This is starting to make sense. You keep playing along and this will get a lot less painful. Now, how did you know that the shooter was here for her? Who's after her?
To be honest, Walker, I don't feel at liberty to say. If she hasn't told you, then it's not my place to reveal anything. And before you do anything in a jealous rage, she did not confide in me. What I know from the official record and my own deductions.
You gotta be kidding me. She's gone, you Nimrod. She's gone. Someone's trying to kill her. May darn well have succeeded, and your gentlemanly reserve won't let you tell me what this is all about?
I'm sorry, Walker. Oh, all right. I suppose with me in this condition, I'm the only one who's able to help her. Anyway, but if I'm going to divulge a young lady's secrets, I'd better have some assurances from you.
What kind of assurances?
That you will take no action in this matter until you've learned the whole truth, even if it's hard to hear.
All right. Then you have my word.
Sadly, I'll need more than that.
Listen, just tell me who's trying to kill her.
I can't tell you who without telling you why, and I won't tell you that until we're on the boat.
The boat? To where?
New York.
Oh, why?
Because if she's gone, and she's not already dead, that's where they've taken her. Unless, of course, she's just come to her senses about you and skipped out on her own.
Huh? Whoever took her went to a lot of trouble to make me think that. Her stuff was packed up and gone, and our stash was missing. Only thing they forgot was her notebook. Sort of a journal she keeps. She wouldn't have left without it.
Any clues in it?
It only starts after we got together, so there's nothing in there that I don't already know.
But you're sure this means she was taken?
Sure, I'm sure. Plus, a little angel gave me some of the story. Eventually.
Speaking of ungentlemanly behavior...
I'm in a mean mood.
I've noticed. You've already managed to choke the truth out of someone. Why are you here?
Well, my source only knew so much. I was hoping you could fill in the blanks.
And if by stash you mean whatever funds you'd saved up, then you were also in need of a bankroll in order to conduct your search. Well, Walker, it would seem that once again you and I are in the disagreeable position of needing each other's help.
Well, I can't argue with you there. But I am curious as to why you're interested in helping me. Or rather, helping Trix.
You have your personal reasons for being involved, I have my professional ones. I suspect if I don't act in this case, there'll be grave miscarriage of justice.
Uh-huh. What were you two doing out on the terrace anyway?
She got tired of dancing.
Oh, so you were dancing.
Well, it was a nightclub.
Uh-huh. You said that the bullet was for her, but it hit you. Just how close were you standing to her when the shot was fired?
Close enough to be having a private conversation. Yes! You're going to make this very difficult, aren't you?
Nearly a week later, a steamer headed for New York is nearing its destination. In a first-class stateroom, we find two unlikely shipmates. Comfortable, Major?
Thank you, Gerald. Yes. My compliments to the ship's doctor. I've been feeling quite chipper on this cruise. I guess it's true what they say about a sea voyage being good for one's health.
True, sir, although most people wait until they've healed a bit before attempting one. Still, I doubt your friend Mr. Walker shares that sentiment. I don't think I've seen him once on this trip when his face wasn't green.
Yes, one rarely finds an American with sea legs, but you won't hear me complain. Mr. Walker's company is never more pleasant than when he's hanging over the rail. Hello, Walker. Getting a dose of the good sea air?
Have you had any breakfast, Mr. Walker?
You offer me food and I'll slug you.
Oh, come now. Don't blame the boy for your weak constitution. Sit down and drink this that Gerald has brought.
What is it?
It's ginger tea, a cure for what ails you.
I don't want it. I've tried everything that you've suggested. I'm not trying anymore.
Leave it, Gerald. Eventually Mr. Walker will take his medicine. That will be all.
Very good, sir.
Better take that, Walker. I need you with a clear head. We dock tomorrow, and it's time we had a chat about what awaits us in New York.
You and your ginger tea and your Hail Britannia.
Oh, quit griping. Whatever your discomfort, I can assure you Mr. O'Dare's troubles are far worse.
Oh. All right. I got us onto this tub. I followed your instructions. I've heaved my guts out for a week, and I've drunk your silly ginger tea. Now you tell me who's got Trix.
Well, as near as I can see, Miss O'Dare's tale of woe begins on the night of June 23rd, 1930, at a place called the Stratus Club. I have a feeling that date has a special significance for you both.
That's the night we met.
I had a hunch. Sadly, I wasn't the only one of several questionable events that occurred that night. This might be easier if you begin telling me what happened. It will help me fill in the blanks, as you said.
And if in the process I implicate myself in any underhanding dealings?
You have a free pass. For now. I'm afraid there are bigger fish to fry than you in this matter.
All right then. June 23rd, 1930. I had managed to slip into a very hoity-toity party at the Stratus Club, which everyone knew at the time was the unofficial headquarters and part-time residence of handsome John Kaspari, the man who owned half of New York. Well, handsome John had many nasty habits, but the one that led me being there was his tendency to take things without paying for them. Well, this time, the guy who was duped wanted it back bad enough to hire a professional. I happened to be in New York at the time and decided to pick up some extra cash.
What was the item?
Plans for a mansion. The architect had drawn them up and delivered them, but he was still waiting on the payment.
Start at the beginning. Tell me everything as it happened.
Now, to be honest, I don't remember it all that well. It was like any other job, at first. Swanky party, liquor flowing, 10-piece band, a dance floor, and a bunch of knuckle-draggers roaming around in tuxedos who looked like they would be more at home working at the docks. I had a civilian with me that night, a kid named Cyclone Jones, a cub reporter trying to make a name.
Hardly a professional thing to do.
I had a habit of taking crazy chances, back then. Try anything to keep it fresh. Anyhow, I owed the kid a favor, and I promised to sneak him in, provided he wrote about anything he saw but me. Like most reporters, he had a tendency to run off at the mouth.
Holy cow, Jimmy! Every heavy hitter in the rackets is here tonight. If I can't get a good story out of this...
Hey, and you won't get a chance to if you keep broadcasting while you're here. Hey, sit down, drink your drink. Leave that notebook in your pocket. We're supposed to be society boys slumming, not schoolgirls at a lecture.
You see that guy over there, Jimmy? That's little Eddie Luca. He was an enforcer for Old Man Kaspari back when he was alive. People say he got passed over so handsome John could run the rackets. Looks like he's been tossing back quite a few this evening. Oh, what I wouldn't do for my camera right now.
Drunk hoodlum is hardly a novel thing, Syke.
Yeah, but when enough of them get drunk together and things are bound to go boom... Word is, little Eddie doesn't like the way handsome John runs things. Thinks he's too flashy and out in the open, and I don't think anyone can argue with that.
Well, the guy has his shorts made out of glove silk. But a gorilla in a suit is still a gorilla.
You don't think much of these fellas, do you, Jimmy?
Do you?
They make for good copy, so my livelihood depends on them. Still, I figured you might have some camaraderie with them. You being,
Yeah, I wouldn't finish that sentence if I were you. And before you lump me in with these unwashed heathens, why don't you look around the room and tell me how many guys in here look like they could tell a Matisse from a Botticelli?
Well, none, but I'm not sure if I could.
Well, don't that just prove my point? Not all crimes are created equal, kid, and neither are all criminals.
I didn't mean anything by it, Jimmy.
You never do, kid. That's why you're such a great fit for the reporter business. Where else could you get paid to talk without thinking?
Wow, that's the deputy mayor over there, and his chief aide. So it is true they're mobbed up. Figures. Last year was involved in this scandal where...
I think he went on like that for a while. I'm sure there were a lot of important people there that night, but I couldn't have told you who or why. What I can tell you is that the girl who was singing at the mic at that moment wore a blue evening gown and silver slippers and a pair of diamond earrings that caught the light when she moved.
He's a married man, for crying out loud. His wife is a high society type. I wonder what she'd say if she could see him here. What?
I'm trying to listen.
Yeah, it's a nice number.
Sure is.
What do you think of the song?
Miss Trix O'Dare with
Guess it's about time I got to work. You think you can stay here without getting shot?
Oh, come on, give me some credit.
Remember the exit strategy I told you about?
Yeah, I remember.
All right then. Things get dicey, you just duck out. I'm not coming back this way, so I'll see you when I see you.
So long, Jimmy. Good luck.
Luck's got nothing to do with it. It's amazing how little it takes to get behind closed doors in some places. I headed through the kitchen. I told some busboy table 3 needed clearing, and nobody gave me a second look. I knew the item I was looking for was in a private suite Handsome John kept for himself on the 2nd floor. All the muscle was hanging out downstairs. Racketeers tend to guard their persons and not their property. They just assume no one has the nerve to steal from them. It was easy enough to slip in and up the stairs to the room where I'd been told Kaspari kept the wall safe. I figured it would be an office. Boy, was I wrong. What have we here? It wasn't just a bedroom, it was a boudoir. One of the swankiest I'd ever seen.
You're an expert in the field.
I used to get around. Everything in there was soft and plush. You could even smell the perfume hanging in the air as if the occupant had just left. A quick peek through the connecting door showed an equally posh, if much less frilly, bedroom. Apparently, this is where Handsome John kept all his valuables. I'm not usually the type to hang out in a lady's bedroom uninvited, but the wall safe had to be around there somewhere. I was lucky enough to have stepped behind the dressing screen when company arrived. The girl who came in was wearing a black negligee. Her arm was in a sling. She limped a little. I watched from behind the screen while she sat down at the bureau and looked at herself in the mirror. She had a nice face from what I could tell. Her lower lip was swollen, and the makeup was caked on real heavy around one eye. Even in this light, I could tell that it was to cover a bruise. After a moment, she let her head drop to her hands and started crying. She got a hold of herself pretty quick, and she started repairing the damage crying had done to her face.
Hey, Tipper, can I come in?
Of course, Cat. I mean, Trix.
See, you remembered. Oh, these shoes are murder, and the band leader is a saboteur. Practically stuck out his foot and tricked me in that last number. Unzip me, will you, Tip?
Sure.
You say something?
No,
Funny, I thought I heard something.
you got that wrong, Trix. It's the ears that have walls around here, not mouths.
Just so long as they don't have eyes. Got something I can slip into for a minute? The blue thing's awful tight.
Well, I thought that was the point.
Never said it wasn't. But I need to breathe for a bit.
Sure, my robe's in the cabinet.
Where? Oh, here it is. Thanks, honey.
Wanna sit?
What kind you got?
You know I only smoke Capones for ladies.
Oh, those I can have. They're good for the cords.
The girl in black had turned the bureau chair around to face Trix, who lounged at the foot of the bed. In the soft light, they could have been sisters. In fact, Trix later told me they had an act together before she went solo. Trix had a look on her face that I've since come to know well. That look that says she has something on her mind.
Running a little low on face powder, huh?
I'll have to get some more.
Been going through it awful fast.
Well, the good stuff comes in smaller packages.
Tip, this isn't right.
Johnny will hear you.
He's downstairs with his cronies from the mayor's office. Listen to me, Tip. I don't care how much jack a guy has. Nobody gets to take out his troubles on a girl's face. Nobody.
Trix, please lower your voice.
It's not right.
Is that what you think of me? Is that why you think I'm still here? Money?
Why are you still here? Oh, honey.
He'd kill me, Trix. He said as much. There was another girl before me, and they never found her.
Figured it was something like that. Oh, Tip, I'm so sorry. But honey, you can't stay here.
Where am I supposed to go? Nobody's gonna help me. Everybody's in his pocket. The cops, the DA, judges, he owns half the city. He owns me, Trix. And nobody steals from Johnny Kaspari.
Tipper.
Oh, please. Let's just not talk about it, please.
Okay. Let's talk about something else. You'll never guess who I ran into the other day.
Who?
Phil Church.
Phil? Phil's in New York?
Uh-huh. Just got in from Chicago. Won't be staying long.
What's Phil doing in New York?
I wrote him to come.
You shouldn't have done that.
What's wrong with seeing an old friend? That's all it would be. Seeing an old friend.
Johnny wouldn't like it.
Johnny doesn't need to know. Come out with me. I'll go with you as far as the drugstore.
What drugstore?
The one around the corner. He's waiting there. I'll come back here and make sure nobody gets nosy. It won't take long. Come on, think of how nice it'll be to see him again.
I don't know, Trix. Johnny usually expects to see me soon.
We'll be back in plenty of time for your appointment.
All right. For Phil. For Phil, I'll risk it.
Well, get dressed then. He's waiting.
They threw clothes on and hustled out. I knew I didn't have long. A little more rooting around revealed that the safe was behind the bureau mirror. I took it down and applied my magic touch. It only took a minute or two, but apparently, so did getting to the drugstore and back. It was only when I replaced the mirror that I realized I wasn't alone.
That's called stealing.
Actually, in my line of work, this is called a reclamation. What Handsome John did was stealing.
You're not one of the regulars around here. Certainly not one of Kaspari's boys.
I never met the guy, and I don't want to. I take it he's no friend of yours.
No, but that doesn't mean I like your type. You're in the way, brother, and I've got a schedule to keep.
You're kind of gumming up the works on this end, too.
How long have you been in this room?
Long enough.
So I did hear something. You peeping Tom.
I swear, I only peeked once.
And I'll bet you saw plenty. And heard plenty, too.
I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but yes.
All right, then. What do you want to keep your mouth shut? How much?
How come you don't just scream?
And have him and his apes come rolling in here like oranges and realize Tipper's gone? Nothing doing. Besides, you might make a deal for your life. You spill the beans and they'll only beat you half to death.
True. That is the play to make in a situation like this.
Uh-huh. So look. This is all I got. There's 100 here. Take it and scram. You forget what you heard, and I'll forget what I saw. Deal?
Listen, I don't need...
Please. He'll kill her if she stays here. She's so scared, and tonight might be your only chance. I'm just hoping my friend can talk her out of talking her into not coming back here tonight.
Tipper, you in there?
Yikes, it's him.
Uh-oh.
Quick, come here.
Huh? Oh!
Tipper! Hey, what the? Oh, it's you.
Sorry, Johnny. Just looking for a little privacy.
What's wrong with your room?
This was closer.
I'll bet. Watch yourself, brother. This cluck thinks she knows something. Where's Tipper?
Looking for you, I guess. Must have gotten lonesome. Heaven knows why.
Always the comedian. Listen, O'Dare, or whatever your name is, I put up with you because you're Tipper's friend, but I ain't got no use for mouthy broads. Now clear out the both of yous. And you, tell Tipper I'm waiting for her next door.
I'm not one of your flunkies. Have fun run your messages. Oh! You brute, you spoiled my makeup.
I'll spoil more than that if you keep flapping your jaw. You got anything to say, pal?
Nope.
That's smart. All that white knight stuff's overrated. You gonna tell Tipper I'm looking for her?
Sure. Sure, I'll tell her.
Good girl. Might be hope for her yet, huh, pal? She's alright. Once you shut her up.
Where the hell's that face powder? I got another number to do.
You all right?
Like you care. Why don't you just get out of here before somebody checks the safe?
If that's how he is on a regular basis, I don't like to think what it'll be like when he finds out that your friend here has flown the coop.
Yeah, it won't be pretty.
You shouldn't be anywhere near here when that happens.
No, Tipper shouldn't be anywhere near here. But if I can stall him for a while and buy her some time to come to her senses, then I will.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, look who's talking. You think Johnny Kaspari has any love for sneak thieves that break into his girlfriend's room trying to rip him off? And now he's seen your face. Better make tracks, friend. It's about to get very unhealthy around here.
Unless your friend comes back.
Pray to God she's not that far gone. Now scram, please. I gotta make up at least a half an hour's worth of excuses still.
I headed for the back staircase. I told myself that it was none of my business, that I shouldn't think about her sitting there, covering for her friend, about the guy who had slapped her face, about the other guy who didn't have anything to say about it. I told myself that this white knight stuff was hooey, and I hated who I sounded like. Near the bottom of the stairs, I heard some people coming, and I ducked into a closet. Too many eyes had already seen me for one night.
I'll see you later, boys. Time me and Johnny had a little talk.
I watched as little Eddie made his way up the steps. His goons slinked off. Near the back door, I reached into my pocket for a Capone cigarette. I pulled out the $100 she had given me. I'm no white knight. I'm not even a gentleman, but even I have my limits. So I did something crazy. I went back. I guess I figured I'd at least give her the money back. She needed it. Maybe I could offer her a lift out of town. As I got to the second floor landing, I looked up to see a girl in a black negligee and a sling make her way slowly down the hallway towards Kaspari's room. I couldn't help but curse her a little. After all her friend had done, she came back to keep her date with that creep. I stuck the money back in my pocket and decided I would forget the whole thing after all. I could hear voices coming from the room that she was headed to.
Hey, you can't talk to me like that, Johnny. It ain't right.
I'll say what I want to you say, you little man.
It sounded like little Eddie was having it out with his boss.
I already paid my dues, Johnny boy, when you were just a snot-nosed brat. I'd like to know what your old man would have to say after he sees you carrying on.
The old man's dead. You're missing so much you can go join him.
Handsome John would be in a swell mood by the time he got around to his girlfriend.
Yeah, I've taken all the ribbon from you, I'm gonna take.
What do you think you're doing?
Suddenly, things got very quiet. I heard her into the room. I turned and started back downstairs, and then I froze. There was dead silence above me, and downstairs the music from the band had drowned out the shot. But someone heard it. Someone always does. I turned and ran up the stairs before I knew what I was doing. Trix stepped out of the room I'd seen her in before, just as I got to the top step. Hey, come on, let's go.
Where's Tipper?
Hey, the quickest way out is through the kitchen. Come on, I'll show you.
But
Listen, you can't get mixed up in all this. Come on, before somebody sees us. She took one look at the door at the end of the hallway, and then we ran. I had a friend waiting for me in a fast car parked a few blocks away. I'd always intended to put many miles between me and this job when it was done. I slipped the conductor $50 to let her on the train with me, and then pulled some strings to get her a steamship ticket on the same boat out of Newark. I figured I'd unload her when I felt like it. And then, I just never felt like it.
Did you ever ask her about that night?
I thought it better not to. The newspapers said that little Eddie was suspected of killing his boss after they'd had a fight. It sounded pretty reasonable, even if it would never see the inside of a courtroom. There was another reasonable enough explanation, but I didn't ask her about it. I mean, why make her rat out her friend?
So, you think the Ryan girl shot Kaspari?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I wouldn't have thought that she had the nerve. You know, she was scared of the guy. I couldn't see her putting 3 holes in him.
Neither can I.
How does little Eddie tell him?
Eddie Luca has surprisingly little to say on the subject. According to the official report, such as it was, he said that in the course of the fight, his employer choked him until he passed out. When he came to, John Kaspari was dead and the gun was on the floor. Neither heard nor saw anyone.
Well, that's pretty thin.
Thinner still when you consider the state of the police force in New York at present. Still, the photos taken of him that night did show bruising on his throat consistent with his story.
Well, not much of a witness.
Yes. From what I can tell, you are in fact the only witness to that night's events.
Well, me and Trix. She must have heard something.
Perhaps. But you're right about one thing, Walker. The Ryan girl hardly seems like the type to commit murder.
Hardly call it murder.
Mitigating circumstances aside, it would still fit the definition of premeditated homicide. That takes a clear head, a resolute judgment. 2 things a Ryan girl was not demonstrating that evening if your story is true.
People do crazy things when they're scared.
Yeah. So scared that she walked away from a chance to escape, got undressed, went into her boyfriend's room with a loaded gun hidden somewhere on her person, shot him 3 times at point-blank range.
Yeah. Hardly fits in what I saw of Tipper.
She was frightened out of her wits and wouldn't have had the nerve. But Miss Adair would.
What?
After you saw her leave, Tipper Ryan never returned to the apartment. She left the state that very night in the company of one Philip Church and has not been back to New York since.
What are you saying?
Simply this. On the night of June 23rd, 1930, Beatrice Odorello, alias Trix O'Dare, alias Carrie Brooks, the name she used when she first started working with Tipper Ryan, sent her friend out of the house to establish an alibi. She then put the other girl's negligee on over her evening gown, fitted herself with a phony sling, and used it to hide the gun. She then kept a routine date Miss Ryan had with John Caspari, but instead of a night of illicit passion, Caspari got 2 in the chest and 1 right through the face.
You're insane.
She then used the connecting door to enter her friend's bedroom, threw off the negligee and sling, and walked out of the hallway right into you.
Trix wouldn't.
She
and couldn't.
I both. No, Miss O'Dea is capable of many things. And she's certainly capable of killing a man in order to keep him from hurting her friend. Can't blame her. But not everyone may see it that way.
You ain't got no proof. It's just a story.
True. I have no proof, but someone does. Besides, it doesn't matter if it's true. All that matters is who controls the court.
What are you talking about?
I have a colleague in New York. 2 weeks ago, an arrest warrant was issued and 2 special deputies were dispatched to Paris in order to carry it out. The warrant named Beatrice Odorello is wanted for the murder of John Caspari.
Trix.
Where is it, Walker? Someone doesn't just want your girlfriend dead. He wants to see her hanged, and unless we're able to stop it, she most certainly will.
Is our heroine headed for the noose? Find out next time on Walker and O'Dare, 2 new episodes being performed live on May 8th. Brought to you by the Capone family of products and the Philadelphia Society for the Preservation of Landmarks, with special thanks to the Here Again Radio Project. Tonight's show featured the talents of Jonathan Elliott Corsi, Loretta Vasili, Kevin Russell, Katie Ochoa, Eric Single, sound effects by Christopher Price, and I'm Paul Thiem. Tonight's show was written by Loretta Vasili, with additional materials written by Christopher Price and starring Doug Lane. This is Mechanical Theater saying good night. Thank you.